There's something about the smell of burnt coffee and fryer oil that clings to you, seeps into your clothes, your hair, your bones, like a reminder that this is all you are. That was my life in a greasy little diner off Lexington Avenue, a place with peeling vinyl booths, sticky sugar dispensers, and customers who thought sweetheart was your name. I was just another tired waitress, moving like clockwork between tables, memorizing orders, smiling on cue. No one knew I once studied art history in Paris, that I could debate French philosophers and read 18th century manuscripts for fun. No one cared that my hands, now carrying chipped mugs of diner coffee, used to turn fragile pages of books older than this country. That day started like any other a Tuesday. My name tag hung crooked, my apron was stained, and I was serving a man named Mr. Collier, who thought snapping his fingers at me was acceptable behavior. He was dressed like money, a tailored suit, a Rolex that flashed under the neon lights, and an attitude that screamed entitlement. He'd sent back his orange juice twice too pulpy and his eggs once too dry. When I brought him water, he sniffed it like a sommelier before complaining it tasted too municipal. "Sweetheart," he said with a smirk, "you people ever heard of bottled water? Or is this establishment too fancy for that?" I wanted to laugh, but I just smiled and nodded. "I'll get you bottled." That was the game. Smile, nod, survive the shift. In the corner booth, though, sat someone different. A man in a simple charcoal sweater. Quiet, no phone out, no impatience, just watching the chaos. He was unreadable. Then she walked in, an older woman in a beige trench coat and silk scarf, clutching a handbag like a lifeline. She looked lost, scared, even scanning the room as if she'd landed on another planet. "Table?" asked Kevin, the new teenage host, barely glancing at her. "Une table, s'il vous plaît," she said softly, her French accent thick and trembling. Kevin blinked. Yeah, sure. "Ma'am." "Wait, you said silly plate." The woman tried again, her words tumbling out in rapid French. She was apologizing, explaining she was lost, her phone had died. She was supposed to meet a tour group at the museum but ended up here. Kevin just shook his head. "Sorry, lady, I don't speak whatever that is. Spanish." Mr. Collier groaned theatrically from his table. "Oh, for heaven's sake," he announced, pushing back his chair with an exaggerated scrape. "Let a man of culture help." He puffed his chest, cleared his throat, and butchered her language. "Bonjour, madam. You want table?" "Oui." He gestured wildly, speaking in the slow, loud voice people use when they think yelling translates. The poor woman looked more terrified than before. I was delivering bread to another table, but something in me snapped. Maybe it was his smug tone. Maybe it was seeing this sweet lady made into a spectacle. Maybe I was just tired of swallowing my pride. I wiped my hands on my apron and walked over. "Pardon, madame," I said in perfect Parisian French, my accent sliding back into place like a well-worn coat. "Excuse him. He doesn't understand you. Are you lost? May I help?" The diner went silent. Collier froze, his mouth hanging open. The woman's face lit up with pure relief, tears welling in her eyes as she explained everything again, this time to someone who actually listened. I calmed her down, wrote directions to the taxi stand, and even called her tour company from my phone. When she tried to press a crumpled bill into my hand, I shook my head. "Non, madame, c'est un plaisir." She hugged me before she left, whispering merci over and over. I turned back to Mr. Collier. "Your bottled water's coming right up," I said flatly. He glared, but I didn't care. The man in the corner booth. He was watching, and for some reason his gaze sent a chill down my spine. Not creepy, but sharp, like he'd just seen something no one else in that diner ever bothered to notice. The lunch rush faded, and I thought that was the end of it. Until my coworker Saul handed me a sleek black envelope later that evening. "Some guy dropped this off for you," he said. "Looked like a secret agent or something." Inside was a card, thick matte black with a silver falcon embossed at the top. Julian Cross, it read. Cross Global Enterprises. My breath caught. That name was whispered in business circles like a ghost story, a billionaire who'd built empires but never sought the spotlight. Tucked behind the card was a ticket. A private jet reservation. Departure Teterboro Airport. Destination Paris. My name was printed in silver ink. There was also a note. Talent like yours doesn't belong behind a coffee counter. A car will collect you tomorrow at 10. This isn't a request. It's an opportunity. I laughed out loud. It had to be a prank. But how would anyone know my name? My address. My heart pounded. At home, I showed Maya my best friend and roommate. She was a paralegal, sharp and cynical. This is insane, she said. This is how horror movies start. He's either recruiting you for a cult or he's obsessed. Billionaires don't just hand out jet tickets. Maybe they do, I whispered, staring at the ticket like it was a portal. You're not seriously thinking about going, she asked. I looked around our dingy apartment, the cracked paint, the pile of overdue bills, my grease-stained uniform draped over a chair. What do I have to lose? The next morning, a black Mercedes idled outside our building. The chauffeur greeted me by name. I got in. I told myself I could always turn around. But when we reached the private hangar and I saw that gleaming jet, it felt like I'd already crossed a line I couldn't uncross. 7 hours later, Paris unfolded beneath me like a glittering tapestry. I hadn't seen this city since I'd been forced to leave school to take care of my dad and his failing business. I'd buried that part of myself. Now it felt like she was clawing her way back. The car didn't take me to a hotel, it drove through wrought iron gates to a sprawling limestone mansion. And there he was, Julian Cross, in person. Younger than I'd imagined, late 30s, dark sweater, calm, unreadable eyes. Miss Hale, he said, his voice a low baritone. Welcome to Paris. Why am I here? I blurted out. All in good time, he said, lips curving in the faintest smile. You must be tired. That night I slept in a bed softer than clouds, but I didn't sleep much. By morning I was ready for answers. In his study, Julian finally explained. His company was trying to acquire a legendary French luxury house, Maison Delacroix. We've sent in teams of the best negotiators money can buy, he said. They all failed. Madame Delacroix cares nothing for numbers. She cares about legacy. You want me to translate, I asked. I want you to bridge a gap no lawyer can, he said. Yesterday you navigated arrogance with grace, then connected to a stranger with empathy. You understand culture. That's rarer than genius. His sister Victoria swept into the room like a storm, impeccably dressed, all sharp lines and sharper words. This is ridiculous, Julian, she said. She served pie yesterday. You're betting billions on a waitress. I swallowed hard but met her gaze. I was a student at the Sorbonne, I said quietly. I had to leave before finishing. A dropout, she muttered, unimpressed. Julian shot her a look. I see talent where others see titles, he said. 2 days later, I walked into a gilded salon in Paris with Julian and Victoria. The air smelled like jasmine and old leather. Madame Delacroix, a petite woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that could cut glass, sat flanked by her sons. The tension was suffocating. Victoria launched into a polished presentation, charts, projections, shareholder value. Madame listened for 15 minutes before raising a hand. Enough, she said coldly, her French accent slicing through the air. You speak of my company as if it's a chain of coffee shops. You do not understand its soul. The room froze. The deal was crumbling just like all the others. I saw it then, the way Madame's hand rested gently on a small portrait behind her. I stood up, my knees shaking, and switched to French. That painting. It's beautiful, I said softly. Fragonard's style, yes. She's reading. That's rare for portraits of women from that era. She must have been remarkable. Madame's eyes softened. My great-great-grandmother, she said with pride. She convinced her husband, a saddle maker, to create a handbag for Queen Marie Antoinette. She built our legacy. She's the soul you speak of, I said, turning back to Julian. He's not here to erase her vision. He wants to share it with the world to protect it. Silence. Then slowly Madame smiled. Tea. Next week. No presentations. Bring her. She pointed at me. A week later, over porcelain cups of tea, I watched a centuries-old dynasty agree to join forces with a tech empire. And I was the bridge. Julian offered me a powerful job, a lavish salary, even to pay for my degree. But I surprised him. I don't want gifts, I said. Give me responsibility. Let me lead the integration. If I succeed, I earn equity. I'll pay for school myself. He leaned back, studying me. Then he smiled, a real smile. You have a deal, Miss Hale. That night, I stood on his balcony, Paris glittering below, and felt the old version of myself, grease-stained apron, tired eyes fade away. I wasn't a waitress who spoke French. I was a woman who took a leap, who turned kindness into power, who demanded her worth. And yet, a part of me still wonders if it should take a billionaire's gaze for someone's talent to matter. Would I still be invisible if I hadn't spoken French that day? What do you think? Should people have to fight this hard just to be seen? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Share this with someone chasing their shot, and don't forget to subscribe because maybe your moment of courage is closer than you think.